and welcome to the special Friday edition of No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. My name is Ryan McCarthy. To my right is my co-host, Dustin Henry. We are brought to you by Billy Up Sports in association with Godzilla Media. Dustin, it's been a heck of a week. We missed out on a recording on Tuesday, but we're here Friday. It's Friday afternoon. Weekend's here.
I appreciate the flexibility this week. I was the one that threw the wrench in, but there was just this week got a little crazy. But it's kind of cool to be recording on a Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. Work is done. I'm ready to dive in, have some fun. Yes, I did mean that to rhyme, and it's official now. I'm on the show bumper. So thanks for that.
Yeah, exciting new times here at No Credentials Required. I appreciate you jumping on as my co-host, and I figure I might as well do some tweaking here and there with the show. So now that we're both not your part of the show, so it'll be a nice little tweak there. I still have to get the bumper for the podcast intro, but I got the means to do it, so we'll get it fixed up there. So in the meantime, we go ahead and remind you about before we get into things this week, we're going to remind you about our socials right down here. If you're watching on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, it's NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ. If you're watching on YouTube, search No Credentials Required. If you're watching, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. That means if we go live, you'll be notified. So that was kind of another rhyming scheme there. I tried to. No, and failed. On the podcast side, if you're listening, our home base is Spreaker. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Podchaser, wherever you listen to podcasts on your favorite platform. Rate and review 5 stars is preferred. See this many stars.
There you go.
Yeah, and leave a review. And if you leave a review, I might even read it on the air. So also, we would love, if you're watching on either Twitter or Facebook, we would like your algorithmic engagement comments, your AECs. Engage with us during the show. We'll make sure we read your comment on the air. We got plenty to talk about, and
I would not have guessed that the A stood for algorithmic there. I was like, audience? I don't know.
Same thing. I mean, same thing. Audience engagement comment, algorithmic engagement comment. Because with YouTube, it's really funny, and same thing with Twitter too. The more people engage, the more people know about about this show. So I figured, hey, we want your audience engagement comments or algorithmic engagement contents, which however you preferred your acronym.
Well, if Danny DeVito's out there and he's watching, hopefully we'll get a comment from him.
Something about his favorite historical figure being Thomas Jefferson. He
Shout out to Danny DeVito. Hope you're watching.
Shout to Danny DeVito. Absolutely. All right. So we were meant to do this on Tuesday, but like Dustin said, things got in the way for both of us actually in our personal lives. We got a comment already. It's Brian Katie from a bunch of stuff. What's more difficult, figuring out YouTube algorithms or baseball sabermetrics?
I would say they're on about equal playing field here, because baseball sabermetrics, everybody talks about the VORP and the wins above replacement and the whip and all these stats. I listen to I listen to fantasy baseball podcasts. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'm like, I'm a little bit lost in the sauce. I was not a math person in school. I was more the English history type.
We are the same that way.
Yeah, and shout out to Brian Katie from Godzilla Media. He's got a bunch of shows. White Heat, Katie's Corner, it's a baseball. White Heat, which is a wrestling podcast. He does deep dives into pay-per-views and such. Katie's Corner. He just started a new one this week. I can't remember. I think it's called Get On With It or I can't remember the name of it, but I watched a little bit on Thursday, or was it Wednesday? I can't remember which day. But anyway,
yeah.
So
He's He's been a fixture in sports a long time around here. I remember him from his days. I think it was on Sound Off with Sync Off, if memory serves correctly.
Oh,
And then he had his own show on, I think, Saturdays. So he's a name that is very familiar. He's very knowledgeable about sports in this area for sure.
that he is. We actually had him on No Credentials Required about a month or so ago. So, um, great guest. Lots of fun talking to him. His internet actually froze while he was making a comment. And we're like, oh, his comment got so this moment of catharsis was so spicy that his internet froze. It was hysterical. It was a great moment in streaming TV.
Yeah.
So after this, go back and watch it. All right, so we're gonna get into our NFL Week 2 reactions. Now we're not gonna go in depth like we did last episode when we went to our Week 1 break interactions. But we're just gonna do a brief version. We're gonna go over our biggest upsets, our biggest disappointments, the most entertaining game, and the most notable performance, and the hottest individual take of the week. So we're gonna start with our biggest upset. And Dustin, which game to you was your biggest upset?
I think just the way that everything unfolded and everything went down, I got to say, I think it was the Cardinals Raiders. And further down the line, this is also without question my most entertaining game. I mean, this game was another one that had everything. Kyler showed why the Cardinals are willing to put up with. Apparently, if he doesn't have the best work ethic, he showed why they're willing to put up with all of that, and he just is such a weapon. And I thought the Cardinals were out of this game 100%. You got to give them a lot of credit for fighting back the way that they did.
Oh, absolutely. That was also my biggest upset of the week. Based on if you're someone who takes part in sports gaming or sports book, now it's become widely legalized around the United States and different states in the United States. Some states have catching up to do. But if you looked at the line, the Las Vegas Raiders were favored by 5.5 in this game, and they went up big early. They were up by 16 at one point. And in the second half, watching Red Zone and watching different games on Red Zone, especially the 4:00 games, the 4:00 games and the 4:25 games, they started out as snoozers.
Yes, they were sleepy.
and with the exception of your Seahawks getting thoroughly trounced by the San Francisco 49ers, every other game was very entertaining, especially my most entertaining game of the week, which was the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. And fun fact, I saw a tweet. Was it a fun fact? I think it was Amazon, the Amazon whatever service it is. They do the pro stats.
AWS.
Yeah, the pro stats. Yeah, AWS, like the pro stats. They do all the stats for the game, winning percentage, that kind of thing, like the percentage to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a stat where for the 2-point conversion that Kyler Murray ran in, he ran 84 yards total between the scrambling and then the run to the end zone.
Yeah,
84 total yards.
Yeah, and was that on the 2-point conversion they needed?
Wasn't the 2-point conversion to tie? Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. Full disclosure, Ryan and I watched the games together last week, and I was kind of up and down because I was making ribs and wings and grilling in a monsoon when things went down. So there were things I missed, but I did not miss that. That's for sure.
No, we I felt a little grumbly in my tumbly for Saturday into Sunday, and thankfully on Sunday I felt a little better, so I was able to enjoy the festivities with you. But no, that was my biggest upset for the week. It was a very entertaining game, as you said. But we're gonna move on from biggest upset to the biggest disappointment. And unlike the week before where I totally ripped my New York Jets a new one,
Hey,
I was
maybe
actually
they heard
very
us.
maybe they hey exactly maybe they got motivated by hearing yours truly give them a new rip them a new a-hole. But
Yeah.
um but my biggest disappointment was the Tennessee Titans, and I'll tell you why. I expected them to actually be in the game when they played Buffalo on Monday night. And that weird Monday night doubleheader. I'm not sure what the reason was for the weird doubleheader where they had one game start at 7 and the next game started at 8:15. I'm not sure the reason why. If there's somebody in the
Yeah.
audience, if there's an ESPN scheduling executive or NFL executive watching, please leave a comment. Please leave an algorithmic engagement comment, and to figure out why they did that weird doubleheader. But Titans, they surrendered a touchdown early. They come back, they get a touchdown, and then Buffalo just proceeds to just
Oh,
lay the wood to them all
yeah.
the rest of the game. And I was so, and especially since they give the Giants beat them the week before, and it was a close game there. I expected to have for the Titans to have some sort of fight.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, they just
Oh,
laid down the entire game, both on both sides of the ball, and the Bills made them pay.
yeah. I mean, the Bills in this game, I think, showed why they're the class of the NFL. I mean, their defense is probably the best in the NFL right now. Josh Allen looks unstoppable. I
Yeah,
mean, people kind of bemoan about Buffalo's running game, but if Josh Allen and the receivers continue to just go up and down the field like this, who needs a running game? You don't
yeah,
need
right.
balance. You don't need balance when one side of the offense is looking so good. And the Titans, we know that they pretty much need Derrick Henry to be Derrick Henry for them to even have a fighting chance. And he just, through, I think, no fault of his own, the offensive line was just giving him nowhere to run, coupled with the tenacity of Buffalo's defense. He was kind of
Yeah,
handcuffed, and he's all they have right now.
that front seven for the Buffalo Bills is just they've been unstoppable the first 2 weeks, and full credit to them for absolutely stomping in the words of the immortal Jr. Jim Ross, stomping a mud hole into the Titans.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely.
And
The
the
Bills were
Titans,
stone cold in the corner and they were stomping.
and the Titans, they picked up Robert Woods in the offseason because they traded AJ Brown, and they draft Treylon Burks. Other than those two, I can't name a wide receiver on that team
Yeah.
that's notable as a notable name.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. And honestly, I Ryan Tannehill has managed to play okay the last few years, but there's been some grumblings that we may see Malik Willis. I don't think we're there. I think that's a little premature, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the season Willis is in there, especially if the Titans
Yeah,
continue to go the direction they're going in.
yeah. And Ryan Tannehill has been exposed the first 2 weeks of the season, and that comment he made about he says or in the preseason during I think it was during training camp where he said, "Yeah, I'm not a mentor to I'm not acting as a mentor to Malik Willis." And
Yeah.
I get it. You're the starting quarterback for a reason, but you also don't have the right to be a dick.
No, no, it's
Pardon my
not.
French, but
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that because if you remember, Brett Favre was not exactly warm to Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know if you followed the news, but now we know what kind of person Brett Favre is. Trying to
Oof.
funnel, get money funneled to the university where his daughter goes. That's supposed to be meant for relief. In the state of Mississippi, absolutely disgusting. So I
Yeah.
guess. Birds of a feather flock together. I mean, I don't think Tannehill's on that level, but if you say stuff like that, you're probably a dick, and it's come out in both cases. So
Now, I just want to say to the Tennessee Titans, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
yeah,
But
yeah,
speaking of disappointment, Dustin, who was the team or teams that disappointed you this week in week 2?
yeah. I got a kind of two-way tie on this one for me, but I'm gonna be very quick with one of them. The Colts. I was wrong. I thought the Colts would do well with Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan just looks washed. If we're honest, the Colts, they have one of the best running backs in the NFL, and they can't score points. They just have gotten beat by teams in both cases, because I think they've played Jacksonville and Houston,
Yeah.
if memory serves. And in my mind, those are two teams that they should have beaten handily as well. And they are underperforming so far, and maybe this is who they really are. You could go so far as to say whether they downgraded at quarterback, and I never thought that would be a question. But the team, to me, that is more in trouble, I got to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. I know it's early in the season, but the AFC North, we're going to get some thoughts on it later, but this is turning into one of the more intriguing divisions in football, because you just don't know who's going to come out of it. We thought it was going to be the Bengals. The offensive line is terrible.
It's a turnstile.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow is just getting hit continuously. He had the spleen problem, a few years ago, or whatever caused him to miss all that time in his rookie season. And it just is, this line is disturbing. And also it's a trend. They seem to be able to get themselves back into games only to lose them in the end. I mean, this has happened for 2 consecutive weeks now. And for where some thought that they could go, they're probably my biggest disappointment.
So, shameless plug, I wrote an article on bellyupsports.com today about how the New York Jets can, in week 3, we'll get to week 3 in just a moment, how they're primed to feast on Sunday. They only have 3 sacks during the season, this young season, but this is the line for the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line and what they've allowed this season to Joe Burrow. In week 1, their line surrendered 14 pressures, 7 sacks, 5 hurries, and 6 hits. And those stats are pretty telling of an offensive line that was supposed to be rebuilt during the offseason, but they've been a turnstile since. Mm-hmm. So Joe Burrow, 4 interceptions, 1 lost fumble in that game. Yet the Steelers won by 3. Now in week 2, the Cowboys did the same exact thing. Yes. 13 pressures, 6 sacks, 3 hurries, 4 hits. I don't know if he had any turnover. I didn't see the line where he had how many turnovers he had, but still 13 sacks in 2 weeks is just an offense.
Yeah. And especially when so much was made in Cincinnati about, we upgraded the offensive line. We understand we have to protect Joe Burrow. And then, of course, infamously, the one player that was signed, he said, "Your new bodyguard is in town. Nobody's touching
Lyle
you."
Collins, who was an ex-Cowboy and Pro Bowler.
You're cashing checks, but Joe Burrow's getting nailed. So this is why you don't social media. Sometimes, to quote Herm Edwards, don't press send. Don't press send on that.
The now no longer employed with Arizona State University.
Yes.
And that's another story that's developing too over this week. My goodness.
Yes. This has been an interesting week in sports, as you said.
Yeah. So we got some more comments from our boy Brian Katie here. Dustin, he says, "Dustin, bless your heart for remembering when radio executives still tolerated me." LOL.
Hey, I was listening out there. I was listening. I remember you did a Christmas carol about Hank and Hal and how they were disappointed. I think it was to the tune of "Oh Christmas Tree,"
I may have to bring Brian on so he can sing that again.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to continue. He also asked, what about Bengals allowing themselves to lose to Cooper Rush? We just addressed that. By God, that's Cooper Rush's music. And he also agrees with the both of us. True. Actually, MF Gaming, I don't know, the new comment here. True, invest in offensive line, and they're still horrible. So, yeah that was true to form, Dustin. One of your most disappointing teams from week 2 was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I have a sneaking suspicion this trend will continue on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 1 week is a an outlier, 2 weeks is the start of a trend.
Yeah,
Try not to
absolutely.
overreact, but I'm telling you, if your Jets come and hit because they are playing the Jets this week, right? I think
Yeah,
Bengals.
yep, at
Yeah,
MetLife Stadium. Yep.
so if your Jets get to the Bengals, then we know it is a trend because that'll be 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to continue on to the most entertaining game, and Dustin, you alluded to your most entertaining game being the Cardinals and Raiders. So
Yes.
we kind of went over that, and we
Yeah,
again
we already.
watching on Red Zone. We
Mhm.
kind of poured over that. My most entertaining game was the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions, and I had mentioned I've said this before, and I'll say it again on this podcast. The Detroit Lions are a fun team to watch. I don't think there's anything
Yes.
that anybody ever in the history of ever has probably ever said since the days of Barry Sanders and Herman Moore and Rodney Pete. This team is fun to watch. Dan Campbell is becoming one of my favorite coaches outside besides Robert Saleh. Dan Campbell is one of my favorite coaches in the National Football League, and last season they all those losses, those really close losses, you kind of could tell something was going to happen in Detroit.
Yes.
I think it's starting to happen. I think that groundswell is starting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I am not as educated on their roster as some, but from what I can gather from the eye test, they've drafted well since he's
Yep.
arrived there.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Mm-hmm.
got some talent. Jared Goff appears to be. I know Sean McVay kind of backed the bus over him when they traded him
Yeah, right.
to get Matt Stafford, but Jared Goff may be a little better than people think.
Yeah,
And also they just those guys will run through a wall for Dan Campbell, and you can see
yeah.
it. And they also believe that they're in every game, which is something that hasn't happened in Detroit for years.
No, no. This team is fun to watch, and I just think that it's gonna be exciting times in Detroit. I think we have another podcast at Belly Up Sports. We just started over the last 2 weeks called Motor City Realists. I didn't get a chance to watch this week's episode. FYI, I did the trailer for their podcast. Set to a karaoke tune of "Lose Yourself" by Eminem. Did a pretty good job, I must say. Mike Brown gave me me the chills because I put highlights for different Detroit
Oh,
games on there.
nice.
But no, it wasn't. If you're a Detroit sports fan, listen to their podcast. It's I'm gonna listen to actually after this week. I'm gonna try to listen to it, and it's Mike and Zach. They've done different podcasts in the past, but yeah, they're all about Detroit sports, and I imagine their excitement has started to swell a little bit in terms of the Detroit Lions and how they're staying in games, and B
Yes.
just having fun.
Yes. Yes, which that's the thing. You got to remember, even though these guys are getting paid a ton of money, they still want to have fun.
Yep.
There are very few players. I imagine there's some, but there are very few players who are just content to show up and get beat every week and still collect a check. I mean, they want to have fun. It is easier when you're winning, and the Lions are feeling themselves right now, and it's fun to watch.
Yes, and it certainly is. It certainly is. All right, so week 2, we're going to go to our most notable performance. I didn't get a chance to make this banner. Maybe I'll do it right now. But the most notable performance, and I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here and go with Garrett Wilson of my New York Jets. 9 receptions, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in that very, very awesomely shocking upset of, I
Yeah.
guess you could call it an upset if you want to call it an upset. Although, yeah, we'll consider it an upset of
Yeah.
the Cleveland Browns. They scored 2 touchdowns in the span of less than 2 minutes, and actually less than 90 seconds, and they come up with a big win over that godforsaken elf painted in the middle in the 50-yard line of
Brownie the Elf's going to
First
have
Energy
something to say to
Stadium.
you.
Whatever. Come at me, shorty.
Scott
But
Scott Hansen on Red Zone was trying to like explain that it was, from Scottish lore or whatever, and it's like you can't make Brownie the elf cool.
no,
I'm a big Paul Brown fan. I know what he did for the game, but Brownie the elf, come on.
no, it's just very creepy looking. But yeah, my most impressive performance, and to boot, Garrett Wilson got Rookie of the Week, voted on Pepsi.com's webpage. They had Rookie of the Week voting, and Garrett Wilson is the Rookie of the Week for this week. So congratulations to him. I know you're watching right now, Garrett. So I just want to wish you congratulations. Also, congratulations to Braden Mann, who won NFL Special Teams Player of the Week for that onside kick he had, and that first down throw in the first quarter of the game on a fake punt to keep a drive alive. So
They're flying high.
yes,
I'll
absolutely.
see myself out.
Dustin, who is your most impressive performer in week 2?
My most impressive performer, because I don't think anybody would have seen it coming. For me, it's Tua, and I'm not going to try the last name because I know I'm going to stumble over it. Tagliavoa.
Tagovailoa.
There we go.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's why you're the host.
Exactly. I love language. I love phonics. What can I say? I'm hooked on monkey phonics.
But he really, when Lamar Jackson was out there making the throws that he's making, I think the general consensus, I think you, me, and Scott were all talking about it, saying that that Lamar is improving as a pocket passer, and if he puts it together, he's going to be such an amazing weapon. But the fact that the Dolphins were right there with him, step for step. I mean, what did Tua have? 6 touchdowns, was it?
6 touchdowns, 400 yards passing.
Nobody and
against the Ravens of all teams.
Yes, and everybody has made so much to do about his arm to the point where somebody on YouTube, and I guess it's pretty funny, somebody put this together. You can find it. It's been talked about on another podcast that I was listening to, but somebody took a video and they flipped everything. They flipped the film so that Tua looks right-handed, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, it looks like a different quarterback. It looks like he has a cannon for an arm. Well, shout out to the fellow lefty. Tua looked amazing in this game. Now, whether he will be able to sustain it, especially if the Dolphins are able to hang with the Bills this week, then we'll see. But the Dolphins look very good. This coach looks like even though he's my age, and he looks younger than me, he seems like he can put Tua in a position to succeed, and the rest of the team as well. It looks like the Dolphins' MO is just to run everybody off the field, but Tua really impressed me in week 2.
Well, Brian Kitty would also agree with his performance of the week. Tua lighting up Baltimore like a Christmas tree for the comeback win. He's in full agreement with the SO. And I just looked up Mike McDaniel. He was born on March 6, 1983, so he's actually a couple months older than you are.
Yeah, he's just a bit older, but I'm telling you, he looks younger than me. When he was walking off the field with the sunglasses and he had the little mustache going, I was like, this dude looks like he's 25.
He looks like he could be like the equipment manager, not the head coach of a football team, honestly.
Yeah, you guys want some waters?
Yeah.
Do
you use some adjustment on your helmet? I can help you with that. All right, so let's go to our last part of summarizing week 2 of the NFL. Hottest individual take from week 2. Dustin, what's your hottest individual take coming out of week 2?
Well, I kind of alluded to it, but I think the Bengals are in trouble. I think there's trouble in the natty. I don't know. There's just something. Last year, they had a magical run, and to start the year the way they have in what I thought for them was a very winnable division. I know it's very early. Maybe they'll right the ship, but with an offensive line like that, as you so eloquently pointed out earlier, I think this trend, as you said, we have a suspicion the trend will continue. The Bengals are in trouble, and that's my hottest take. I don't know if it's that hot, but I think it's hot to say it this early, but I have very little faith that the Bengals will right the ship.
All right, my hottest individual take from week 2 is that Josh McDaniel is just another Mike McCarthy, no relation. He has an aversion of running the football. If you're up 16, if you're up double digits, what's the most? If you're on an offensive now, Josh McDaniel ran a pretty good offense in New England. Of course, he had a Hall of Fame quarterback for so many years with him. Not so much with Mac Jones, to be determined with him. But he's hired by the Raiders, and you expect him to try having a balanced attack. Well, that's not so much the case right now with the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you look at the box score from this week, Josh Jacobs had a pretty solid week, 19 rushes, 69 yards, no scores. Longest run was 13 yards. The Raiders attempted 39 passes and only rushed 21 times. Now, I get it. You want to have a passing offense. You've got weapons like Hunter Renfrow. You've got weapons like Devontae Adams, who is Derek Carr's, I say, best friend. They were teammates together at Fresno State. But at the same time, when you're up multiple scores, slow the game down on offense. When you have the ball, slow the game down. Grind that clock. I'm old school. I'm an old school guy when it comes to offense. Yes, passing attack. I know the NFL is trending towards a passing attack right now. We kind of saw it with multiple. We saw it with multiple quarterbacks this week. Tua Tagovailoa being one of them this week. But that was a unique situation where they were down 3 scores. When you're up multiple scores, when you're up 16 points, you got to slow the game down. You got to run the clock down. And if you can't utilize Josh Jacobs to your best ability, what the hell are you doing as a head coach in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Full disclosure, I've never been the biggest fan of Josh McDaniels, and I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because I know everybody deserves multiple chances. Nobody should be judged entirely on their past actions, but some of the decisions he made when he was head coach of the Denver Broncos, drafting Tim Tebow as high as he did, and then he stiffs the Colts on the day of the press conference when he was supposed to be hired. There's just something about him. And the latest thing for me that makes no sense, as you just alluded to, Josh Jacobs, I don't know if he has incriminating pictures of Josh McDaniels or what, but they won't, Josh Jacobs, he's a running back. Whether you think he's a star, there is no denying that he may not be a star, but he is a good running back, and he was a recent draft pick. And I get it wasn't by your regime, but when you use Josh Jacobs, arguably one of your best players on offense in the Hall of Fame game, that's where you kind of show what you think of him, because nobody else, no starters, if memory serves, played at all in that Hall of Fame game. They might have played a couple of snaps, yet they're running Josh Jacobs out there like he's got to earn a spot on the team or something. It boggled my mind.
No, go ahead.
Josh Jacobs, I just don't know what the plan is there.
No, it could be a regime change. I mean, last season with John Gruden and all that mess they had with him, having to fire him and then having their special teams coach take over as the coach for the rest of the season, and they got to the playoffs.
Yeah, he did a great job as interim coach.
And they had a balanced attack. Excuse me to tag along here. He's making an appearance on the show.
Yeah, he's the show mascot,
Yeah, he is the show mascot, absolutely. Until that changes. But this year, there's correlations to the Cowboys in that when Jason Garrett was head coach of the Cowboys, there was a balanced attack. You had Dak Prescott, who I think he was a better quarterback when you handed Zeke Elliott the ball.
Yeah. The run game opens up the pass. Yeah.
Exactly.
As much
as
I
been
hate
like that for buddy, I know you want attention, but
yeah, you have to
it's
do
always
that.
been like that in football. It's always been like that in football.
Yes. Yes, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Run to open up the pass, specifically play action pass, because maybe you get the defense to jump just that little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I there are people out there that know full warehouses of knowledge more than I do about football, but even I learned from playing the Madden video games back in the day, you run the ball to set up the pass.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the way it's always been. Brian Katie's got a hot take of his own. He says Trey Lance won't see another meaningful snap with the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. After that injury, gruesome injury. Oh, yeah. Goodness. You may be right, Brian. I mean, that's the same injury that Dak Prescott had in 2020. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to move along. We're going to be doing this pretty quickly. We're going to go to NFL Week 3. What we're looking forward to. We're going to be going through this segment pretty quick. We're going to take a quick break, have a little we're going to pay some bills around here. But let's go to the most intriguing matchup. Dustin, who's your most intriguing matchup for Week 3?
For me, there's only one pick for this, and it's got to be the Bills and Dolphins. It's got to be. I am exceedingly excited, one, to see these two quarterbacks go head to head and see if Tua can do it for another week. Josh Allen, we know what he's capable of. He is not the trash draft pick that big mouth Jalen Ramsey thought he was those years ago. But the most intriguing matchup for me is to see if this track meet, high speed, we've got the burners, keep up with us, Dolphins offense, how the Bills defense is going to combat that. Because I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup.
I agree with you there. But for me, it's Bills Dolphins. Just based on the fact that the Dolphins haven't seen a pass rush like the Buffalo Bills. I mean, granted, Baltimore has a pretty decent pass rush with Justin Houston as their primary pass rusher. New England kept the Finns down for as long as they could. They adjusted, like Bill Belichick's teams always do. They adjust in the second half. Yeah. But it's going to be really intriguing to see what this front seven of the Bills defense can do against this offense, which is very fast. They get open very quickly, but you've got two stud corners for the Bills too. You can't just look at the front seven, but you also got two stud corners, one of them being Justin Poyer, who's one of the best in the league. So it's going to be a very intriguing matchup right there. Teams that are the most desperate for wins this week, I went with the Raiders and the Titans, who are actually playing each other in Nashville this Sunday.
How fitting.
How fitting. As I mentioned with the Raiders, they got to find a way to balance their attack. For the Titans, I think it's just going to be, you got to find a way to make sure you get Derrick Henry the ball.
Yes. You've got to feed him. You've got to see if he can regain some of the form that he's had in previous seasons. And because he's your stud right now, as you detailed earlier, Robert Woods, he's a great receiver, but I just don't think that Tannehill, receivers outside of AJ Brown have not been the focus in Tennessee for recent years. And I do think Mike Vrabel, he comes from a school. I think he's a little bit old school. He wants to run the ball. That offense is predicated on running the ball. Why not? Arguably your best player on the entire team he runs the rock. So that's what they've got to do, is just keep going to Derrick Henry, see if he can wear the defense down as the game goes on, see if they can control the clock a little bit and maybe grind out a win.
Yep. Absolutely, I agree. I agree with you there. For the We're gonna go to the players to watch in week 3. For me, actually, Dustin, who's your player to watch in week 3? And you
My
may have
player,
alluded to him already.
yes, my player to watch. I'm on repeat a lot this episode. My player to watch in week 3 is Tua again, because you want to see.
Tagovailoa.
You want to.
We'll work on that.
We'll
We'll work
work
on
on
that
it.
after the
I will
show.
study up. I will study up. Now, you want to see, is he finally fully recovered from the injury? Is his arm able to hold up to the scrutiny? And is he able to get the ball to the receivers? He showed it last week. Can he do it multiple weeks in a row? Has he arrived? My eyes will be on him this week.
And for me, again, doing a little homerism here, but I'm going to say the New York Jets defensive line. I want to see what they can do against this Cincinnati Bengals turnstile of an offensive line. I would love to see. I would love to see, because I did a full breakdown on BellyUpSports.com. It's my most recent article, but they've only blitzed a handful of times this year. They only blitzed a couple times against the Ravens, only blitzed a couple times against the Browns. That's understandable because they have more mobile quarterbacks. You're dealing with a guy who's primarily a pocket passer. If you can get after him, he's like Tom Brady. Like, if you send enough guys after him, you hit him enough, he's gonna wilt. And I'm curious to see if the Jets can get after him this week.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. Now we're moving on to the last thing we're looking forward to in week 3. And actually, this is more of a negative thing. This is we would rather drink castor oil than watch this game of the week. For me, it's the Bears and the Titans. That just says it enough alone. I mean, it's in Houston, and the Texans.
Yeah.
The Texans offense was god awful last week, and they almost beat the Broncos. The Bears are the Bears. The week 1 win against San Francisco, I think, was kind of an anomaly just because of the weather. Last week, Aaron Rodgers still owns them. Sorry, Bears fans. Aaron Rodgers still owns you, even with all the ayahuasca in the world that he can have. He still owns your franchise. Dustin, which game would you rather drink castor oil than watch?
Well, to go into this, I'm going to go back to last week for a second. As I alluded to, I was grilling wings out in the rain when we got hit with some rains, and our buddy Dave, who was over at the house, he came out and he said, "Hey, you want me to take over the wings so you can go in and watch the like parts of the Niners Seahawks game on Red Zone?" I said, "Sure." I went in and I watched that massacre. And when he came in, I said, "Man, the wings would have been more entertaining than that." So that is my pick. That is my pick. It's the Seahawks Falcons. I mean, Seattle, I don't know if Drew Lock would be any better. I don't know when we're going to get a chance to see him, but Geno's not going to get the ball to DK Metcalf to make this entertaining. The running backs, it's a 3-headed monster. Their corners are terrible. The Falcons, though, they've been in games, but they've almost been in games. It seems almost they refuse to use their best offensive weapon. Kyle Pitts has been invisible. And apparently Arthur Smith doesn't care about fantasy football. But let me tell you, if you get Kyle Pitts involved in the game, you probably have a better shot at winning real football. So I'm not looking forward to this game. I'll definitely tune in a little bit, but I see myself turning this one off pretty quickly if it goes sideways.
Yeah. And the funny part last week is that the Atlanta Falcons were this close to coming back from a 28-3 deficit. It would have reversed everything since that happened since 2017. So
yeah, it's insane. I don't know. Use Kyle Pitts. He's there. You spent a top 4 draft pick on him.
Yep.
And he's invincible. He's not a blocking tight end. The guy's a freak.
Yeah. Exactly. And Dustin, you had a quick thought about before we move on to the next for the rest of the show. You had a quick thought about Thursday Night Football. Why don't you go ahead and lay down what you were thinking from last night's game.
Yeah, I just want to say that overall, I like Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on the call. I think they're a good team for Amazon. There was something about Amazon's presentation that felt just a little bit below Fox and CBS and ESPN for me. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just I'm not used to streaming games yet.
Right.
But overall, I'll get to the team play just very quickly. The Steelers, you have to wonder when they're going to give the rookie a chance at quarterback here, because clearly, with the exception of Najee Harris and a rookie running back, his last name is Warren. They drafted him, Jalen Warren. He ran well early last night, and I was wondering if they gave him more of a run to kind of spell Najee, because he's recovering a little bit from I believe, what was it, a sprain?
I hit a high ankle sprain.
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah. So I was wondering if they were trying to balance Najee out. As the game went on, Najee looked fine, but Jalen Warren, he looked pretty good. Mitch Trubisky threw a ball, and Pickens laid out and made an incredible grab. If you didn't see it, go back and check this
very
out.
reminiscent. Yeah, very reminiscent of one Odell Beckham Jr. back in the day, for sure.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal game. But then after that, the Steelers defense, I know they've got some injuries. Obviously, Watt's not playing right now, but wow, the Cleveland Browns, it looked like, first of all, it looked like this game was going to be a punt fest, and then both teams kind of got into it a little bit, and next thing you know, they're starting to score some points. It's 14-13 because the Steelers kicker missed an extra point, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be like, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised by this game. But then the Browns really just ran it down the Steelers' throats, and Jacoby Brissett played very well. He was in a zone last night. He was getting the ball to David Njoku. Amari Cooper had a great game, because people are thinking, oh, Jacoby Brissett, he's not going to be able to get the balls to the receivers, but he did last night. And the Browns, dare I say it, if they can survive like this until, obviously, we don't know what Deshaun Watson is going to be when he returns, they'll have something to say about this division, because as we detailed earlier, the Bengals seem to be on a downward trajectory right now. The Steelers aren't what they used to be. So I think it could be a Ravens Browns division. And I do think the Ravens will ultimately pull that out, but the Browns surprised me a bit last night. We knew they were going to rush. We knew that the running attack is what they want to do, but the passing game surprised me a little bit last night. Jacoby Brissett, he was in his own.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett's he's the serviceable quarterback. He's been in the league for more than a cup of coffee, so he's going to do the job if you need to do the job. So I'm not going to begrudge him, but and nor should anybody else, because he's an NFL veteran. He knows what he's doing. He's doing a couple teams, but if you need somebody to just fill in the gap until your starter comes back, Jacoby's your guy.
Yeah, he's won games for the Colts in the past. I believe the Patriots back in the day, and now he's doing it again.
Yep, absolutely. All right, before we move on to the rest of the show, we got to pay some bills, and we want to tell you about one of our friends at Godzilla Media, and that is Mohawk Honda. And up here in the Northeast, just like that, it's fall, crisp morning air, pumpkin muffins, beautiful foliage. God almighty.
Hey, you got
nuclear.
Name. I got foliage.
And just like that, it's fall. The seasons may change, but one constant is the buying experience at Mohawk Honda, where you are greeted with a smile and treated with respect. The new vehicle inventory is ramping up too, with pilots, passports, and Ridgelines. Remember, this is the best time ever to sell your vehicle. They want to buy your car, and in some cases, you may even be able to sell it for more than you paid for it. Just another advantage from what you get from the number one volume dealer in the capital region. General Manager Greg Johnson and his teams of sales consultants are always available to help you in the buying process. And big news, Scott Moynihan is back at Mohawk Honda, he brings his 30 plus years of automotive experience with him. Stop by and welcome Scott home. You can also see my guy, Easy Evans Whalen. He got me into the loving wheels of a 2016 Honda HRV. Yes, the season's changed, but at Mohawk Honda on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia, New York, and on MohawkHonda.com, we always go out of our way to please you. So, moving on to our last couple segments here on No Corrections Required for this week, we're talking about Aaron Judge, and his pursuit of Roger Maris. He is tied with Babe Ruth for the New York Yankees season home run record. He's one behind Roger Maris. I was listening to the last couple of games, the last couple of nights, and other than the fact that these teams are walking him, in which your pitching coaches and your managers, you're all cowards, first of all. But I also kind of wonder if he's trying a little bit too hard, Dustin. Just to try to break this record, I think he wants to do it in front of the fans.
Yes,
and and there's a sneaking suspicion that he won't be back this next season as a Yankee. I doubt that. I think he's happy where he is in New York, but I think he wants a long-term deal. Mm-hmm. But getting back to the main topic of his record, possibly breaking the single season record, do you think he's trying too hard to break the record, especially at home in Yankee Stadium?
Oh, I think there's no question. He's got to be. He's got to be pressing at the plate. We know he's a star athlete. We know he's used to the pressure of the market in New York. He's played here for a little bit now, and he clearly has the mindset to handle it well. But this is next level pressure, because you're trying to do something that very few people have done, and in a lot of people's eyes, this is the real single season record, because for various reasons, nobody counts. Some people don't count the McGuire, Sosa, Bonds seasons, and we all know what those reasons are, and everybody has different opinions about them. But yes, he's got to be pressing because he wants to do it in front of the hometown fans. Like you said, there is some doubt swirling around whether he'll be back in New York this year. He knows, or next year, he knows what this record means to people. And now that people are walking him, he's got to feel that he has less of an opportunity to do it. So with all that swirling around, it's got to be tough to just go out there and play.
Yeah, I mean, as I was listening to my guys, Levac and guys, the other day. They talked about this record and how much it means to. I think it means to a lot to a lot of people, and the fact that a lot of athletes have tried and failed to play in the New York market. Sonny Gray, Joey Gallo of recent memory,
and
for some reason, Yankee fans.
To go back a little further, Jeff Weaver, he could not handle it. He was the big offseason acquisition from the Tigers that year, and the pressure just got to him. It gets to a lot of people.
You could say same for Randy Johnson when he played for the Yankees back, and I think it was it 06 or 07, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the exact year, but he had to get a haircut, and it just wasn't the same. Like, he wasn't the same badass pitcher who could throw napalm from the left as a lefty. It just wasn't the same after that. So, and just getting into little tiffs with the media, the paparazzi especially. But Judge seems to excel in the limelight and saying, "Hey, I definitely want to be here. A, I want to be here. B, I don't mind the spotlight at all." And having the big stage, and the biggest stage of all being Yankee Stadium, because of what it is. I personally think he's trying too hard. I think it will serve him well to have a night off, as much as Yankee fans don't want to hear it. I think
Yeah.
it would serve him well to have a night off just to take the pressure off himself. I mean, if I'm Aaron Boone, I'm doing that. But
Yeah.
I know people are going to pay a lot of money for tickets because they want to see the record being broken.
Yes.
But at the same time, like he's got to have a little bit of pressure taken off of him.
Yeah.
And I think a day off would serve him good. That's my hot on the outside but ice cold in the middle take for hot sports take for today. But that's just me. That's just somebody who that's just who I am. Like I was as someone who's served athletes in a ministerial role in the past. I know what they go through. Like I know what they go through. Even in like even like a small market like Albany, New York, the capital
Mm-hmm.
region.
Mm-hmm.
There's still pressure for them to perform.
Yeah.
Whether they're trying to go to the next level. If you were with the AHL affiliate, you were trying to get to the NHL.
Yeah.
If you were in short season single A ball, you were trying to go to single A or double A ball. Like there's that pressure on you. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to perform and do that. And the fans want to see that. They want to see production. But I just think, like I said, I just think it would just serve Aaron Judge well to just have one night off to just kind of decompress, take off the pressure a little bit, and then smack the crap out of the baseball to tie and then surpass Roger Maris. But that's just me.
Yes. I agree with you. You've got to release the valve a little bit. He needs time to relax. It's got to be a pressure cooker, and he probably I'm projecting, but he probably feels like he just can't focus the way he needs to play. So I think a night off would do him good. If you're Aaron Boone, at some point you got to protect your player, and I think this would be a way of doing that.
Yep. So we're gonna end things. We're gonna wrap things up in just a minute, but I just want to get to the weirdest sports news item of the weekend. Dustin, I shared this with you last night. A student at the University of Utah tried to pull a Vladimir Putin, and he threatened to nuke his campus. Now, here's the story from KSL out in Utah, and the headline was student arrested for allegedly making nuclear threat unless the University of Utah Utes football team beat San Diego State last Saturday night. So let's I'm reading the articles. This is from KSL.com. And I'm quoting here. It says, on Saturday, the University of Utah football team hosted San Diego State at Rice-Eccles Stadium. The woman, quote, posted threats of violence on the Yik Yak app. I've never heard of that app.
Yeah,
before the game, stating that if the football team did not win, she was going to down. That was the curveball here. She was going to detonate the nuclear reactor that is located in the University of Utah, causing a mass destruction, according to a police booking affidavit. Now, I understand going nuclear for your team, but not literally. Also, A, and B, I expect this from from fans of the SEC, not the Pac-12.
Yeah. This lady's obviously she's yearning for the days of Urban Meyer and Alex Smith. I don't know what's going on, but to me, and I hate to be this person, but like, guys are crazy, right? We would expect this from some dude that would just get drunk or whatever and call up and say some stupid stuff. But the fact that it's a woman almost makes it like, wow, this is next level. Because like normally women are more measured in their responses. They're smarter than us. I could say it, but like,
there are women who are super fans. I know some of them personally. Between with Belly Up Sports especially. So, but I don't think I would ever take it to that kind of level. And this is a scary part. This is it goes on in the article. It says police noted that I'm quoting here. The police noted the student does have knowledge of the nuclear reactor and is aware of where the reactor is located and attends class in the same building where the reactor is housed.
Wow.
Oh, that's scary.
This is she premeditated this. It was not like, oh, I had a couple shots and got a little crazy. No, this, like, She's been planning this. Wow.
Yeah.
But why this
And
particular game? I
I
wonder.
honestly don't know. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know because look, they lost week 1 against Florida. They had traveled to the swamp and they got beat by Florida, who's a very good football team. And then they beat Southern Utah by 67 points the week after. And they beat San Diego State, who's not a terrible football team, but they play in the Mountain West, which is where Utah used to play. But no, it's no. No, I don't have any.
Yeah.
I'm kind of rendered speechless for the fact that somebody would actually threaten to blow up a nuclear reactor at the school.
Yeah.
And she knew where that was.
Yeah.
She was a student. She's an engineering student at the school who knows nuclear fission.
Yeah, clearly an extremely smart person, but I don't know what she was thinking with this. I don't.
Yeah. Also, it sounds like Yik Yak is full of a lot of different people who are just a little. I wouldn't say weird, but they're a lot smarter than I am. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. We weren't even smart enough to know what Yik Yak was, I guess.
No, I'd never heard of it until I read that article. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. But first, Dustin, why don't you go ahead and tell the people about your ExtraLife fundraiser?
Oh, and I see you put the link in the bottom there. Thank you very much.
It's also on the link on our YouTube page for this broadcast. So if
awesome.
people want to support you, they can click that link and give some money, some tax-deductible donation.
Yeah, I would very much appreciate it. I will be playing video games. I'm going to attempt to go for 24 hours. I don't know if I'll make it. I've made it a few times. I've been doing this. This will be my 5th year doing it now. It's to raise money to fight childhood cancer. And if you're local to the capital region and you're watching, the money will go to the local Bernard and Millie Duker Children's Hospital at Albany Med. It's just a great thing to be involved in, and I'm happy to use one of my hobbies to try to do a little bit of good here. So pop on in. I'll be streaming that day. I don't stream much on Twitch at the moment. Pretty much ExtraLife is the only time I do it, or if I'm testing for ExtraLife, but that may change soon enough. But tune in on the day. I'm eldusto67 on Twitch. I am also at eldusto67 on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm trying to keep it consistent, locked down, but appreciate any help you could give.
Yeah, same thing for my handle here, which is at whoisryanmcc. I keep it pretty universal on social media. And speaking of social media, just want to remind you before you wrap up, thank you for watching. If you're watching on the replay, thank you for watching the replay also. But before we wrap up, just want to remind you about our social media channels for No Credentials Required. Right down here, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ. Watch it on YouTube. Give a thumbs up for this video. Also hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that way you know when we go live or we post another video like the Can I Borrow a Predator from a few weeks ago, which has got a lot more hits recently. So I'm very happy about that. That's gaining ground.
It's a good one. And before we go, Ryan, where can people find your articles and other work that you've been doing?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Dustin. BellyUpSports.com is where you can find my written works. Like I said earlier in the program, I've been plugging it for the last hour or so. I just wrote an article about the New York Jets and how they can beat the Bengals on Sunday, excuse me. But I'm pretty much I'm the beat writer for the Jets on that website. So you'll see plenty of Jets content they'll be happening. They'll be written over the course of the 2022 season and hopefully beyond. I'll also be dropping some hockey articles because hockey season is going to start very, very soon. Training camp started I believe it started this past week, and preseason games are starting soon. My New Jersey Devils are ramping up, and I know Dustin, your Edmonton Oilers are looking to bounce back, looking to improve from the Western Conference final appearance they had last year.
Yes, I am very much looking forward to this upcoming season in oil country. It's been a little while since I could say that, but I really think they're finally on the right track there in Edmonton after a long drought since 2006, I think it was. I mean, they did well a couple of years ago, went to the playoffs, but then they kind of really underperformed, and then they went to the Western Conference Finals. But what can you say? I mean, the Avalanche just were too much for them, and hopefully they can.
That's a buzzsaw. Yep.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, it was quite a team.
So, yeah, so we'll do some more hockey coverage this season. Football is going to be the primary focus, especially since the NFL is has with the fine tuning they've done and continuing on for the rest of the season. We'll probably try to switch focus to hockey. I'm going to try to focus on some local stuff. The Albany Firewolves, the lacrosse team, are going to start up pretty soon, and I got a nice shout out during the show. From an account that was on Twitter. Let me just go to that as one from the Outside the Box podcast. What I did last year was I posted videos of every goal that the Albany Firewolves scored, and I published it. I posted to to the Twitter account. No credentials required. They gave me a really good shout out. They said the crew over at No Creds do a great job on game day covering the Firewolves. We'd love to make it out to Albany Firewolves game this year if possible. So, Outside the Box podcast, thanks for the shout out. I really do appreciate it. But again, like I said, follow us here below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, No Creds REQ. We're going to post a lot more content on the social media side. In terms of the podcast, again, our home base is Spreaker, but you can also listen wherever podcasts are found. Rate and review. We may even read it on the air. Same thing for YouTube. If you leave a comment, and it's sufficiently harmless, or if it's offensive, I'm still going to read it because offensive comments sometimes make me laugh. So unless there's like slurs or anything like that.
We don't endorse any of that here.
No, we don't endorse that crap. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. No credentials required. If you watched live, thanks for engaging with us. So we appreciate the comments. And again, after the show, if you want to leave a comment on YouTube, go right ahead and do that. If you're watching on the replay, I appreciate you watching on replay. And again, this is the podcast where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are presented by Belly Up Sports in association live in the capital region with Godzilla Media. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. We will talk to you again next week. Until then, enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I'm pretty sure don't do anything that Dustin would do either.
True.
All right, folks. Thanks again for watching and listening. We'll catch you next week.
See you next week, everybody.